Hello, everybody, and welcome to Monday. It's great to have you with us. Okay, so I spent the weekend thinking about the eclipse, but then also thinking about those two moms who disappeared in Kansas. And they were supposed to be going between Kansas and Oklahoma, and just boom, they vanished. And every time we do a story like this, it's kind of a playbook. The police and the families, they reach out to us. They try to get the word out. They ask for, the public's help to bring in tips. No, not this time. Not with these two. I think we're simpatico on this, folks, you and me. If you're a true crime fan, something stinks on this story. They are so tight-lipped. The police won't say a word. These ladies are missing, and there's some sort of foul play in their car. But the police won't say a word, and they're telling everybody else not to talk to the media. What does this mean? I'll tell you one thing that my spidey senses. Our Laura Engel is right now racing to a location for us. She's going to join us in a little bit. But she went to a rehab center today, and it is the rehab center where one of those ladies has an ex-husband. When he just got out of jail, right around the time when they disappeared, he was court-ordered into rehab. Our Laura Engel went sniffing. And then something weird happened afterwards. It kind of threw us into a bit of a tailspin. You can always tell by how messy my hair is. She's going to report all the weird stuff that just happened to her, all in like the last 20 minutes. But it's got me thinking even more that something stinks in this case. All that is coming ahead in just a moment. And then there's this. If you lost a member of your family and you thought that their spouse did it, but that member of your family vanished, never to be found again, no body, no weapons, no nothing, no charges, that's the story for Stacy Peterson's sister. This "where is Stacy" never got answered. 16 years Stacy's been missing. Her husband is in prison, Drew Peterson, for killing the wife before Stacy. But nobody's been able to solve the Stacy story, and her sister is not having any of it. She's been looking and looking and looking, and not just above the water, underwater. And tonight she joins me with the new tack she's taking underwater. She's also going to give you a tour of what you're looking at here. It might just look like a bunch of stuff on the bottom of a really cloudy canal. Not to her, it isn't. I'm going to give you a tour as to what exactly you're seeing and why she says that is her sister's skull, potentially, and that the police need to sit up and take a lot more notice. All that's coming ahead. She's going to talk to me in just a moment. But then also, these things are so funny, right? Like, I can't see a thing when I put this on. You really got to be looking at the sun in order to see. It just looks like I'm looking into blackness. But we all looked a bit goofy when we put these on. There's a crime story here. Because when you put these on and they are so dark and you can't see through them, all you can see is the eclipse if you're looking at it, can't see anything else, guess what you are? You are one vulnerable potential crime victim. This is pickpocket nirvana out there. Right? Look at everybody. I'm not seeing my six. Nobody was looking at their six. Nobody. And I wasn't the only one to figure this one out. It turns out crime agencies all across the country put out the APB on this freaking eclipse being like a national problem for crime. I got the whole story for you, the warnings, the everything that happened. But I didn't think that eclipse was going to make it on my show tonight because I didn't think it was a crimey thing. Turns out it's a crimey thing. Okay, I want to start here, though. This one's been bugging me. I think it's been bugging you. I know it's been bugging Dan Abrams because he and I are debating it like crazy. Was he terrified, and did he really think he was going to die? And was that terror so profound that a middle-aged man just grabbed for a knife that he somehow had tucked away in his swim trunks and then plunged it into 5 people, killing one of them? That is the story. That is the story specifically that a jury in Wisconsin is going to have to figure out. And this is not going to be easy. First of all, it doesn't make any sense. Like, none of it. This was like a beautiful sunny day 2 years ago in the middle of summer. And that guy, Nikolai Mew, and his group of 50-somethings, they did what a lot of people do on days like that. They went tubing down the famous Apple River in Wisconsin. They weren't the only ones who went tubing that day. So did a rowdy group of young people, which is what people like me like to call people who are, teens and 20s. Young people. But that group of young people decided to add a whole bunch of liquor to the river mix. And then those groups collided for reasons that should have stayed small, but did not. And when those reasons did not stay small and got really big, all holy hell broke loose. For his part, Nikolai Mew said it all started when somebody in his group of 50-somethings lost a cell phone while they were tubing, and that Nikolai just said he was going to go looking for it. Just go looking for that cell phone, snorkel, and, But then he says the group of young people started going after him and calling him a pedophile and screaming that he was spying on the girls with snorkel and then this happened. It got nasty. They shoved him down into the water 2 times, at which point he says he grabbed for his knife. Let's play it up full.
He hit a woman? He hit a woman? You hit a woman. He hit a woman. You killed him.
So within minutes of all of that, Nikolai Mew had stabbed a total of 5 people and 1 of them died. And now Nikolai Mew is on trial for murder. And a lot of people are telling their stories, and a lot of people are showing their videos. And here is Mr. Mew's defense lawyer, who is grilling the best friend of the kid who died and suggesting that these kids, well, they just brought it all on themselves.
You're taunting him because you're feeling more confident and brave because of the other people, right? That's one reason.
Yes, sir.
He's alone. That's another reason, right?
Yes.
You can go by, can't you?
We could have, yes.
But now you're getting braver because of the number of people that are around.
Yes,
right?
Because there was adults and we were trying to handle the situation.
Right. You guys start to try to handle the situation instead of just going by, which is what you could have done, right?
It was all so quick, and I don't really feel like no one really leaving that situation says it was all so quick, and the commotion was just everywhere. We were just young kids that were curious as to what was going on, and we wanted to see it finish what we were seeing.
You wanted to see it finish because it was on tape.
It's got to be really hard, first of all. Let me just be really clear. You watch courtroom stuff and you see it sort of one dimension. But if you are ever sitting up on a witness stand, and I've done it once, and I lived this business, right? It's really nerve-wracking. It's really scary. And the stakes couldn't be higher for these kids, right? You want to know what's really at stake here? How about this? 1 count of first-degree intentional homicide and 4 counts of attempted first-degree intentional homicide. This isn't oh, no, heat of passion, or, oh, well, you got provoked. This is first-degree. You planned it. You planned intentionally. I'm joined now by Tony Cotton. He's a Wisconsin attorney who defended Morgan Geyser in the Slenderman case. Hey, Tony, thank you for joining me. First of all, I am so torn when I watch the circumstances in this case. I like to jump back and forth between defense and prosecutor's table to get inside the heads of both. I'm struggling to get inside the heads of both, and I'm just assuming, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that it's really going to matter how old you are if you're one of those jurors as to the perspective that you might have. Am I wrong?
No, I think that's correct. I mean, you want to, looking at it from a defense perspective, you want jurors who are going to be more sympathetic to your side, who could relate to your clients. So I think the ages of the jurors certainly is a factor, and it matters.
The defense attorney here is an interesting character. His name is Corey Sharafasi. Hope I pronounced that right. He was Kyle Rittenhouse's defense attorney in Wisconsin. And one of the things I just noticed when I was watching that clip, and I'm guessing that you might have the same feeling I do, because you have to dance a very careful line when you're questioning someone on the stand who's a victim. Because if you are involved in this in any way, I don't care. You are a victim. You are traumatized for life. You know, Corey went hard on that witness. And I wonder if that could backfire, because the jurors might think, hey, back off. The kid's a victim.
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting perspective. Corey's a fantastic lawyer. I mean, this is Wisconsin, so pretty much every good lawyer knows each other here in the state. And there's two very good defense lawyers on this trial, Corey and Aaron Nelson, both defending it. I thought Corey did go at the witness in the victim. If obviously is a victim, he did go at him hard. But I thought it was appropriate. I mean, that's really what the defense has to do in this case, is they have to make it seem like the group of kids played some role in this. The self-defense claim doesn't sell unless you put some level of blame on the group of teenagers or youngsters here and show somehow how they antagonize the defendant or provoke the attack. Because without that, I'm sorry, it's never going to fly. So I think the way Corey approached this was exactly, yes, it could backfire, but what's the alternative? If you don't go aggressively at this witness, you lose the ability to get that self-defense claim in.
And we're talking about first degree. I'm right. Kind of shocked at the charging here. I really am, because given the video, there isn't anybody who's going to look at that video and not think something about what Mr. Mew was dealing with in his mind. There's the standard, right? What was in your mind at the moment that you needed to self-defend? And I have to be honest, this part right here, he'd been shoved down into the water. None of those teens, not one of them has a weapon, but they all have hands, and they're all aggressive and they're all drunk. How can that not be considered a mass weapon? The teens pushing him down into water where he started to get, you could see on his face, panic set in.
I don't know that I'd use the phrase mass weapon, but I know what you're saying, that he felt like he was under attack. And then he had no alternative but to use deadly force.
Listen,
I think the hard part...
You know what? There had to be at least 10 to 15 sets of hands that were surrounding him. If you've got 5 to 6 to 7 kids, that's a lot of hands right there. And he was surrounded. And they did shove him down twice. And he got scared. That one moment I saw the fear. I just think, doesn't that tell you what's in his actual head at the moment that maybe he clicks into self-defense mode?
Yeah, I think that's exactly how the defense will need to characterize it, that he was under imminent fear of death or great bodily harm. He could have drowned. He was in the water. He's being pummeled by a group of strong teenagers or young adults, and he needed to do this to defend himself. That's exactly right.
And drunk, too. I mean, he knows there's alcohol involved, that the better angels aren't prevailing here. Sensibilities are out the window. Nobody's being reasonable. The video, I keep thinking the video is what's going to save him, but some people say the video is what's going to actually string him up. If there'd been no video here, what would you say, Tony? Would you say that this would be an open and shut case against him, for him? Like, where do you weigh in?
Yeah, I think without the video, it's an open and shut case against him, because you really would have the group of individuals saying that this guy came at them for no reason, that he was aggressive, that he was armed, that they weren't provoking anything. But I think the video does show, you're exactly right, that moment when the stabbing begins, right when it begins, that he was in fear for his life. And from a defense perspective, trying to defend this case, you want video like that. You want to be able to show that the person was, in fear right there where he's being attacked and pushed down. You want to be able to hammer that for the jury. Those visuals are huge.
I got 10 seconds, but I got to get this from you. There are witnesses on the kids' side, and there are witnesses on the 50-somethings side. When it comes down to the jury, who do they believe more? The older folks who are on the jury, or the younger ones who were drinking?
The adults.
And there you have it, huh? It might just come down to that. Wow. You know what? It's this is one of those kind of page turners for me. I check in on it every day. They had a nurse. They had a surgeon in there today. Like, holy Dinah. The information's really fascinating, but the overall mood is what's really got me. Can't thank you enough, Tony Cotton. Will you come back?
Yeah, sure. Have me on anytime. Happy to do it.
Great. We'll do that for sure. I appreciate this tonight. Okay, still to come. There is something about a muddy, silty canal outside Chicago that could hide the answer to a 16-year-old murder mystery. A missing woman's sister says, hell yes, it sure does. And now she is telling anybody who will listen. But so far, very few authorities will do that. Very few will listen to her, even though she's got video evidence. Coming up next, my conversation with the sister of Stacy Peterson, who says she has found the bones that could well be her missing sisters. So why aren't the cops helping? That's next. A few weeks back, Drew Peterson, the ex-cop who is convicted of murdering his third wife, he looked me right in the eye. And of his fourth wife, he said, yeah, Stacy just up and ran off. This is the interview right here. She just up and ran off. That's why she's gone. Missing, disappeared. Somehow she has just managed to stay up and run off for 16 years now. Just ran off. Drew said maybe with another man, maybe with her sister. He wasn't sure, but that anybody who was still out there searching, Drew said must be doing it for show. Just for show, he said. I didn't get it either. No one has ever been charged with Stacy Peterson's disappearance, to be clear, right? But the suspicion that fell on Drew Peterson from day one, well, that just supercharged the investigation into the death of the wife that came before Stacy. Her name was Kathleen. And that investigation got Drew Peterson put away for decades. The murder of Kathleen Savio, wife number 3. But as it happens, someone is still searching for Stacy Peterson all these years later. Cassandra Kales, Stacy's sister. Cassandra has never rested in her mission to bring Stacy's remains home because she believes it's remains. She didn't up and run off with anyone, according to Stacy's sister. And Cassandra is telling anyone who will listen where she believes those remains are as we speak tonight. Here's what she said in a recent episode of Crime Nation on the CW.
You don't understand the connection we had. I felt this whoosh go through my body. I knew Stacy was murdered. It was her telling me. That's when my mission started to go for Stacy. I don't know how often I've gone up to the canal. In this past year, I have been on the canal searching approximately 6 times with sonar and divers. I believe I found my sister.
Literally sucks the life out of me because I know she's there. So this is the bottom of the canal. We were searching with sonar and we got the live video. And if you look underneath the grabber claw, you can see a human skull upside down, the 2 eye sockets right underneath it filled with silt, and the lower jawbone fell off. You can totally see a female bound, hair waving, full body form. It's somebody. Whether it's my sister or not, they need to be brought home.
Earlier tonight, I had a chance to speak with Cassandra Kales about her mission to find Stacy. Cassandra, you have been so focused for so many years on getting to the bottom of this mystery and finding your sister. Do you think this next round, the next search, is going to yield something that you haven't seen yet?
I hope so. That's always my hope, to get the remains covered, and if it's my sister, and give her the proper burial. But then, and if it's somebody else, then I can, that loved one, whoever's loved one it is, can be home and obviously, put to rest as well.
Tell me about this new effort and what you hope to accomplish that might be different than the last round where you literally searched under the Illinois-Michigan Canal.
This search would be different because I have a GoFundMe right now to raise money because it costs $1,000 a day to get this sonar, and it's actually like a handheld sonar that the diver would use, and the diver would be able to see on his mask the sonar, what the sonar is seeing, and then we would be able to see topside as well. It's not as easy as just sending a diver down and then, hey, there it is. It's the sonar actually reads through the silt, and just sending a diver down there to, they're not going to see anything because, the remains are buried in silt, and that's why they're not moving.
So tell me about the original images that you revealed to all of us that, in your estimation, appeared to be a skull with the jaw that had been separated and some other human remains. Can you kind of walk me through that, like from the beginning, as though I've never seen it, and tell me how you came to determine what you believe to be Stacy's remains?
Basically, what you're looking at is that's an ROV, which is a remote operated vehicle, and it's like an underwater submarine, and it had sonar and live video. So when we were driving that, there was no visibility with the video, and we were using the sonar to get to this target. And once the sonar got close enough, we had, you lose visual on the sonar, and that's when we had landed the sonar and all the silt washed away. And that's what you see there. That front claw, that's the grabber arm on the ROV. That black piece, but right in the middle there. Underneath that, you see the skull and a right eye socket, and the jaw, or like the skull is like this, and the eyes are like looking back at us. And then the lower jawbone.
Right, so it's like
is actually
it's as though it's upside down, right? So to sort of navigate here, that center black device with the 3 holes in it, that the skull would be underneath that and upside down, almost as though it's like a head in a hairdresser's sink looking back at you. Does that sound about right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And so now what I couldn't believe, Cassandra, is that you had found all this. You had done all this legwork yourself with these experts, and you have this video, but it feels as though the police and the FBI and the authorities who have the budgets, they haven't stepped up and seen this as a viable clue that's worthy of pursuing. What did they tell you?
We actually had the ROV sitting in that position right there so they could put divers down and grab it. And I had the state's attorney and the Illinois State Police out there, and I believe one of them commented, "What do you expect us to get a boat out here right now?" So it was just like pushed off, and then that's when we got the ROV out. We had I just figured out how to, like, what should I do now? Because obviously, so that's when I started calling the FBI. And I called the FBI every day, this one individual, and I called him every day of the week until he came. And that was 3 months later, and they just basically, like I was explaining, they just did a blind dive. Didn't ask for my assistance or anything, or where we were, or where the ROV was. They just went out there and did a blind dive. And most of the time, the divers were on top of the water, floating. Yes, it is.
Yeah, and with all that silt at the bottom of the canal, and obviously, a decade and a half later, it's so frustrating to hear this. So when I spoke with Drew inside the prison, I asked him about these remains. I said, what do you make of what Cassandra has spotted with her team? And his response to me was, what, she's still out there doing that? And it was quite jarring to me. I wondered what your reaction was to that response from him.
I don't watch Drew if he's on the media. It doesn't do anything for me. I mean, I don't care to see him. I just keep focused on what I'm doing, and that is bringing my sister home and giving her a proper burial.
Do you think this second search that you're moving forward with is going to be the success story you're hoping for?
That's what I always hope for. And if it's not, then I won't stop. I will continue until those remains are brought up and given the proper burial they deserve.
Cassandra, I'm so thankful for your time, and I wish you all the luck, and I wish you all the success that you deserve, and I wish you peace as well in this extraordinarily sad and very long tale. Thank you for doing this tonight.
Thank you.
Cassandra Kales joining us earlier tonight. Coming up after the break, I have never been to Eva, Oklahoma, but I've seen some pictures. And I've seen some of the area not far from there. And it is super remote. Like right now, it would just be pitch black. And if two people had met a very scary and deadly demise out in that very dark area that I'm referring to, it's probably not an area that you'd want to be late at night. And yet our Laura Ingle is there. And something happened to her. And after the break, she's going to tell you what it is next. Oklahoma investigators are right, and Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly really did meet up with foul play. Either the culprit knew exactly where to stash their bodies, or somebody ain't looking hard enough. It's now been 9.5 days since the women set out from their hometown of Hugoton, Kansas, on their way to Eva, Oklahoma, to pick up Veronica's 2 kids. And it should have been a pretty quick trip, 16 miles, door to door. But it ended 3 miles too soon, with miles and miles of mystery in between. The women's car was found the same day in a rural Oklahoma county that's actually called Texas County. It's in the Panhandle. And police say there was evidence in the car that makes them think that the women didn't disappear on their own. But they are not elaborating, not a bit. They say they don't believe that there's an ongoing threat to the public, but they won't elaborate on that either. We know that Jillian is a pastor's wife and that she was there to support and maybe, chaperone Veronica in a custody fight that she's having with her ex and her ex's family. The name of that ex is Wrangler Cole Rickman. Wrangler Cole Rickman, that's his name. And he had been in prison on a gun possession beef, and though Wrangler was just released before the women went missing, he reportedly entered a court-ordered rehab facility soon, if not immediately afterwards. NewsNation national correspondent Laura Ingle took this assignment, and she went down to rural Oklahoma and Kansas to do some digging around. She's joining us tonight. And Laura, I'm just going to give our viewers a little insight as to what's been going on the last half hour or so. You were supposed to lead this newscast, and you could not because you had to hightail it for safety. You're in a very rural area. It's very dark. It's very desolate. And suddenly you found yourself followed. Did I get any of that wrong? And take me from there.
So we started off our day in Oklahoma City, where we went to the OSBI, and we've been making our way slowly to the area where the women's SUV was found. And we know that they were supposed to meet up at this abandoned gas station, the Four Corners, which we went to, and we checked that out. And then we took this right on Highway 95 to see if we could just quickly find the spot where the women's SUV was located, Road L and Highway 95. We turned off. And we looked around, and we've been reporting on it, and we knew as our team put a safety plan in place together for ourselves, saying, let's all watch each other's backs, let's share our location with other people. We got to this location, and I filmed it. You can see it right there. Road L is actually off of 95, a bit more than we expected it to be. Now, exactly where the car was is between that area and where this cross was found. We found this white cross with yellow ribbon. The women's names are on that cross. Who placed it there, we don't know. But our plan was to show this to you, to film it, and get out of there. And when we went to turn around to go back down this long dirt path, Road L, this big black truck with tinted windows pulled up, and seemingly looked like it was going to start to block us. And our plan all along was, if we see somebody coming down the road, let's all get in the car and get out of here, which is exactly what we did, driving back towards the gas station and getting back over here to a well-lit area so we could report to you tonight. But the point was to show you where the SUV was found. There has been no information about what has happened to these women. We have been pressing the OSBI for days now, for over a week. We don't have any answers. We know that nobody's talking. And Ashleigh, you and I have been doing these missing person cases for a really long time. And whenever I arrive to a scene like this, I usually see a grid search. I see canine units. We see a command post. We see the types of things that we're used to. But there is nothing. There is no sign of a search going on right now where we are in Oklahoma.
So this is why I was distressed. Can I just ask our control room to roll that video that they were just showing as Laura was showing us that location that now all of a sudden that the cross has shown up in that spot where the women disappeared. Laura, there was a truck on the left-hand side of the screen. Is that the black truck that you were referring to, or was it another black truck?
No. It was another black truck. What you see there on the screen is we have vehicles that belong to us, and it was further down the road. So it was right where the highway and the road met, and this truck kind of pulled in. Now, were we near somebody's private property? We might have been. I'm from California, and so a lot of these roads lead to, vineyards. But we have described, and we took some drone video today as well. But yeah, you can see that cross. It has their names on it. Who placed it there? It looks like this is the spot where the SUV was found. The drone footage that we took earlier, we specifically did to show everybody just how rural this area is. You've been hearing us talk about it. You've been hearing Brooke Schaefer mention it as well. But we wanted to get up and out and show you that as far as the eye can see, there's a lot of terrain to get to. It's a lot of farmland. There are some pig farms that are nearby, which are easy to spot and smell as you're driving down the road. But as far as the location, the gas station that's right behind me does have a flyer from the OSBI with the women's faces on it, Veronica and Jillian. We walked in and we talked to the gas station attendant, a young lady, and we asked her how she was working there alone. We said, "How are you feeling? What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, I'm nervous. We just don't know what's going on. I'm checking in with my family, and they're calling to ask me if I'm okay because I'm sitting here at this cash register alone," and you can't blame her.
There was a picture that your drone video caught just a bit ago, and it looked like maybe that was one of the industrial pig farms that you were talking about. Is that one of those facilities? Because I have to be honest with you, in the absence of any information from authorities, there's all sorts of crazy rumors about pig farms and how they might be involved in all of this. I mean, the rumor mill is on overdrive.
It is. And that is right down the road. In fact, that industrial pig farm is between the location where the SUV was found and the gas station where the women were supposed to have that supervised meetup to have Veronica's children handed off. And I also want to mention something that's really important here. 10 days before Veronica Butler and her friend went missing, there was a court filing. I printed it out. I read it on the plane right here. It is filed on March 20th, 10 days before. This was a bitter custody battle. Was it involved in this? We don't know. And I also want to mention that I've been talking to a private investigator not involved in this case, but knows the area well. And she said that there's a lot of human trafficking that goes on here. There's a lot of, because it is so rural, there are other things that happen. So while people are focusing on family matters and the bitter custody battle that was going on, there are other items to consider. Of course, the trucking industry, that we've got truckers up and down. We just don't know. The OSBI is not telling us what's going on. We thought we might get an update from them today. They told me over the weekend, if there's not an update over the weekend, we'll talk to you on Monday. Well, here it is, and we don't have an update from them, not an official one, other than them telling us that they're really busy.
And tomorrow is going to be day 10, and we all know the longer we go without clues and without resolution, that the harder it becomes to solve. Mm-hmm. I'm really concerned about you, my friend. Just make sure that you stay in the well-lit area. Maybe give a quick call to the authorities to let them know where you are and to make sure everything's okay. I'm not going to lie, I got a little nervous about you being out there in that very dark rural area with a black truck coming after you. I hope everything's going to be okay. Thank you for doing this, and thanks for staying on the story.
Thanks, Ashleigh.
Laura Ingle out there for us tonight. And you know what? It's like 10:43 at night out there, Eastern time. It's scary in the daytime. It's scary in the daytime. No one will hear you scream, I keep saying about that area. Okay, coming up, if you think you have had a bad day, be thankful that you're not Chad Daybell, because he just laid eyes on the 12 men and women who might possibly be deciding if he should live or die. How much did those jurors know about his wife? You know, the one who got a life in prison last year for the same murders he's facing? How much do those jurors know about all the dead people that litter the path of this doomsday couple? And could that very question be the thing that sets him free? I'll explain next.
His karate lessons might not turn him into a black belt. Hi-ya! And even after band camp, he might not be the greatest musician. But with the 3% annual percentage yield you can earn on a PenFed premium online savings account, your goal of supporting his dreams...
Thanks for everything, Mom and Dad.
...will always be worth it. Apply today at PenFed.org/savings. Federally insured by NCUA. $5 minimum to open account. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed.
PenFed's got great rates for everyone.
My 13-year-old acts like a puppy again. Almost overnight, she's a different dog.
Perfect poops.
When people switch their dog's food to the farmer's dog, the effects can seem like magic. But there's no magic involved. It's simply real meat and vegetables with all the nutrients dogs need, instead of highly processed pellets. No tricks, just smarter, healthier pet food delivered in packs portioned for your dog. It's amazing what real food can do. Get 50% off your first order at thefarmersdog.com/no-magic.
DC's definitive source for nonpartisan political news.
This is The Hill. Thank you for being here on NewsNation. I'm Blake Berman.
Trusted reporting from America's fastest growing cable news network. NewsNation. Now at a new time, weeknights at 6/5 Central.
Two major developments happening on both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue.
NewsNation's The Hill. Weeknights at 6/5 Central on NewsNation. And to find NewsNation on your screen, go to joinnn.com.
Stand Up to Cancer asked leading cancer researchers to speak about why they do their work.
Two words come to mind for me. One is responsibility. The other is purpose.
It's just so inspiring to do research that impacts human lives.
Stand Up to Cancer has been a critical partner in advancing research for cancer.
Cancer research saves lives.
So please, help us fight in this battle against cancer.
Be a part of the team that ends cancer at standuptocancer.org.
Thanks for listening to News Nation on the Go. I'm Hannah Doba, and this is America's source for engaging and unbiased news.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
As a firefighter, my job was about saving lives. I never thought one day I would be fighting for mine.
After spending his career answering the call to save others, Ken was diagnosed with ALS. Now he's facing his biggest battle, for more time. For 70 years, Muscular Dystrophy Association has been helping people live longer and more independent lives.
I wouldn't be living as good of a life with ALS if it wasn't for MDA. Learn more at MDA.org.
There's danger out there. It lurks on highways and quiet neighborhood streets. It's more likely to kill you than a shark and more terrifying than the biggest snake. Distracted driving claims lives every day. Every notification, swipe, social post, video, or selfie while driving risks your life. So while you might think public speaking or the zombie apocalypse is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Every child deserves the best teachers, facilities, and academic programs to set them up for success. At Milton Hershey School in Hershey, Pennsylvania, we make that a reality for children from qualifying families who are looking for greater opportunities. Milton Hershey School enrolls students from pre-K through 12th grade from across the United States to live and learn on a beautiful state-of-the-art campus with all costs covered. Are you looking to set your child up for success or know a child who could benefit from Milton Hershey School? Learn more at mhskids.org/admissions.
Of Listerine to your routine. New science shows Listerine is 5 times more effective than floss at reducing plaque above the gum line for a cleaner, healthier mouth. Listerine. Feel the whoa.
If you are watching this show and you're a fan of true crime, you may have an opinion about the guilt or innocence of Chad Daybell, the so-called doomsday cult dad, a.k.a. Lori Vallow's husband. And that means that you and I have something in common. That our opinion of Chad Daybell does not matter a hoot. Tonight, though, we know exactly whose opinions will matter. Those of the 10 men and 8 women who were chosen for Daybell's jury, out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds who were summoned and screened. 6 of the final 18 are going to be alternates, but those 6 are not going to know until it's time to deliberate. And that, my friends, is a long way off. It's expected to take about 10 weeks for the prosecutors to argue that he murdered his first wife, Tammy, and the 2 youngest children of his current wife, Lori. Opening statements are set for Wednesday morning at the Ada County Courthouse in Boise, Idaho. But this will not be a carbon copy of Lori Vallow's trial for at least 2 reasons. Number 1, Daybell could face the death penalty. Vallow did not. And number 2, everybody in this trial, probably including the jury, knows all about the Vallow trial. I am happy to welcome back Larry Woodcock to this program. He is the grandfather of 7-year-old murder victim J.J. Vallow. Larry, thank you so much for being on with me. I always look forward to our conversations, even though we gather at a sad time, always, it seems. But today I wondered if it felt different, being able to set eyes on Chad Daybell for the first time in a long time in a courtroom where you might be bringing this one home.
Thank you, Ashley, for allowing me to be back home. It did feel different. In a true sense, the stress is not as great as it was with Lori. You know, Kay and I love Lori, and she broke that trust with the murder of the children. And I had a lot of resentment. I had a lot of hate. But with Chad, I think I'm better prepared, and I'm able to focus deeply, and I feel like I see more and I hear more. And I just feel like it's a little different. But when I look at Chad, the one thing I see is the children, because I can't unsee those photographs.
And you're talking about the photographs that you had to endure during Lori's trial, and no one should ever have to see their grandchildren in that state. And I am so sorry that you and Kay had to do that. I'm curious if you think that Chad Daybell has been planning all along to do what Lori wouldn't do, and that was point the finger at his spouse. Lori would not blame Chad during her trial, but do you think that Chad is going to 100% blame Lori in his?
I think the defense really has no choice. How do you defend the undefendable? I mean, the terabytes of evidence that was presented, and we don't know. We have never been privy. We have no idea what evidence, additional evidence, and additional photographs maybe, or additional, we just don't know. So I can't imagine that everything was presented at Lori's trial. In fact, I'd be willing to bet that it was not.
Well, Larry, this is a death penalty trial, and that is very different than Lori's. I know that you and Kay were disappointed when they took death off the table in Lori's trial, but that will not be the case in this trial. Let's speak again as we progress through the evidentiary phase. And as always, I'm sending my love to you and Kay, and my hope for a great peace for you and your family.
Thank you, Ashleigh, and we'll be happy to speak with you anytime. You've been so gracious to us, and your network is amazing. So anytime y'all want to interview, we're here. I wish Kate could interview, but obviously she's under subpoena, and that's not going to happen. And Kay's health is amazing. She's doing better. This is not as tough on her as Lori's trial. Because as I said, we loved Lori, and we gave her the most precious gift we could give anybody. So, but with Chad, this is 100% business.
Understand. We'll check in again. Larry Woodcock, thank you so much for this. Coming up after the break, you know what? I'm not even going to tell you after the break. I'm going to tell you right now. This. While we were all looking up, my friends, and checking the sky, pickpockets and terror folks were the concern of our national law enforcement agencies. They literally said there was a concern across the country for people not watching their six and for actual terror targets. Thankfully, it did not happen, and we all got a great national show. I'm glad if you were in the path, you got to see it, and I hope you did it safely. I hope you watch Cuomo safely, too, next.
You know,